Welcome back to Goliath. Today I'm here with Drew Westrick of Glassboard, and we're going to be talking about the smart cellular shunt that they are building and Goliath Solutions and how we're using it as well. Welcome, Drew.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for chatting today.
Yeah, so Goliath is an IoT platform. Glassboard is a design shop for building hardware and firmware and all manner of products. But maybe could you give us a feel for where Glassboard kind of sits in the ecosystem more broadly?
Sure. Yeah. So we basically tell people that we're, product development for physical goods, right? We usually say if you can touch it and feel it, we're interested in working on it with you. And so we started Glassboard about, 8 or 9 years ago. Myself and a couple other engineers, had used some external product development firms and engineering resources. And what we kind of found was that a lot of them kind of are operating is like a black box, right? You kind of bring a set of requirements to them. You put it over the desk, and 6 months later, they bring you something back, and they say, "See, look, we met the product requirements," right? And so we kind of just thought that that lacked a lot of transparency in terms of the product development process, and they were making a lot of like trade-offs, sort of behind closed doors in terms of like, oh, we're going to use this more expensive component, or we're going to use this cheaper component. And so we just felt like the product development space could really use just a lot more interaction and sort of bring the people that are doing the product development, usually the engineers, the product designers, et cetera, a lot closer to the process. And so even the name Glassboard, we were kind of actually just ideating on a Glassboard one day, and we're like, this is how it should be, right? Like you should be in the room, like talking about the challenges in the product development process with the client and customers in real time and getting their feedback about those trade-offs. And so it led to the name of the company, but I think it also kind of runs through sort of the ethos that you'll find at Glassboard today is sort of that collaborative. Another tagline we use is together we go further. It's really that we're an extension of your company or business, not so much just this external entity that's trying to meet a set of specifications that you're aiming for.
Great. Yeah. And we here at Goliath as well, we have people who approach us and they say, "Hey, I like the Goliath capability. I want to be able to build with it quickly." Often we refer people out to folks like Glassboard to start at the point of like, "Hey, we're going to go design something super custom." But often people come to us and say, "Actually, I know what I need, or I know kind of the area I need it to be. And do you have anything that solves that?" And things like reference designs is kind of one take at that, but that's still not even productized. So then we started looking with our design partners like Glassboard is and saying, well, what do they already have built? And can we then take that and extend it using it for Goliath customers? And that's really where Goliath Solutions comes in. So today we're going to be talking about the cellular smart shunt. That's something that Glassboard's built. What is the genesis of the shunt?
Yeah, so the cellular smart shunt really came out of a need. Purdue has a Grand Prix that they run every year for a long, long time. And when the co-founder and I, Grant Chapman, were at Purdue, we got involved in the EV Grand Prix. So this was sort of an electrification, and started to do a race and create a separate series called EV Grand Prix, but an electric version of the gas Grand Prix. And one of the things that's important, and one of the ways that the carts sort of create a level playing field is they have a power limit, basically, right? So it's like, there's some technical regulations, but ostensibly at the end of the day, it's like you can do whatever you want as long as you don't exceed 14 kilowatts is the max power that you're sort of able to have on track, right? And so a professor had created this box, but it was really big. It was bulky. We'd been using it for a lot of years, but you sort of had to like dump all the data off of SD cards. And so the people were scrambling at the end of the race to like gather this data and like determine like, oh, is everybody in regulation? And if they weren't, you'd get disqualified. And so we sort of said, hey, this is a really kind of a clunky way to do this. It'd be great if we just had a smart shunt, right? That was just cellular connected to just provide this data in real time, right? It's greater transparency. Teams can see what other teams are doing in the straightaway in terms of power. They can kind of look at like, oh, our cart's a little bit less fast, but we're delivering less power. Maybe we should bump up our controller, that kind of thing. So yeah, that was kind of just the at least a genesis for the cellular smart shunt idea. But as we sort of started working on this project and starting to talk to folks like you guys and others, it turns out that, maybe there's a good way to apply this sort of thing to a number of industries.
Right. And I think that's really where it comes in, is that batteries are not going away anytime soon. And that E Grand Prix is a microcosm of the larger battery space, really DC current monitoring in general. That's kind of how I see this operating. And when it's right in the name of the smart shunt, it's basically a resistor that's in line for monitoring DC current going through it. And then you also can monitor voltage simultaneously. pass all those readings back up to the cloud, take advantage of other things like the 9160s GPS and similar like sensor capabilities and things like that. And then you're able to kind of get more out of this device.
Yeah, exactly. We found this great little shunt from Vishay, right? That's sort of already like pre-molded with the actual copper shunt in there, right? And so we said, hey, we can sort of just add a circuit board to this. It's actually funny. We did a non-smart version of this actually, sort of at the very beginning with just a microcontroller and a set of LEDs that would sort of turn red. But again, when we kind of demoed this and we tested this with teams, we kind of just said, could we take this a step further? And that's kind of where we went to the cellular variant of this to kind of sort of unlock some additional capability and kind of just make everything real time as far as the data analytics are concerned.
Right. And I can Glassboards. We also have the 3D files here. You can kind of see it in closer detail, like Drew was showing. On board, there's power handling, there's external sensor capabilities using quick headers. On board, he has eSIM, onboard memory, that sort of thing. And then
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this works currently up to about 100 volts. We actually have it's designed to work up to 100. You can go a little bit beyond that. There's some protection on the input to kind of go beyond that. But yeah, essentially, it's designed for fairly wide range of voltages. And then currents as well. The nice thing is we've got sort of an adjustable gain amplifier, which basically means that if you're consuming less amounts of power, we can go down to a range of 105 amps discharge and 60 amps of charge. So sort of a little bit more accurate, lower range. And then we can kick that all the way up to, up to 840 amps of discharge, 480 amps of charge. And so you'd be moving some serious power up at those levels.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
and so this also kind of ties into the another part of like how's the Goliath solutions. It works in conjunction with product development firms like Glassboard. Is that we expect people to come to us and say, hey, I need something like the Shunt. I want to get it in there. I want to get into my application, start monitoring data, look at the data on the Goliath console, use things like pipelines to get the data out to other services, and basically make it so that it's seamless IoT data collection sort of thing. But then also what we very likely expect is someone to say, if there's just that one other thing that I need, because there are so many different applications, and that's when they come back and they work with Glassboard to add additional capabilities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just, again, for this particular one, we tried to make it as flexible as we could, right? Even adding things like a quick header to it so that if you wanted to test this with another sensor or GPS or something else, it's just very easy to take what's there and then sort of build on top of that. And I think, again, Goliath kind of facilitates that. And even Zephyr facilitates that because it's like, if we have a base level of firmware, it wouldn't be that hard to go out. And if the sensor is supported in Zephyr, say, just add that driver. And then similarly on the Goliath side, you could start to just easily kind of just push. Maybe that data is even raw. Like you're not even really like filtering it or doing anything. Just start to push that data into the back end. And then, you now have like unlocked additional capability, I think, fairly quickly and fairly easily, right? Without like completely redesigning the hardware or, spending months adjusting the firmware in the back end system. Like I think each one of these layers is kind of designed to be pretty flexible and nimble, which I think, again, in the modern world is a super powerful thing.
Right. And we are trying to get people to the point where they can not necessarily buy a thing off the shelf. This isn't an off the shelf design. We never really go for that kind of thing, but take a existing solution and then use that as a basis to then start to modify to their future needs, that sort of thing. That's where we really see a lot of the strength and the strengths of Glassboard to take it and extend it from there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly how we design this, is like we design this to sort of be about 80% complete for a lot of applications. And then obviously for like the Grand Prix one, we'll take that to 100%, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't go into, a light electric vehicle or golf carts or like industrial automation and do similar things with effectively the same design or something to be very, very similar.
Yep. That's great. Drew, where can people find out more information about Glassboard?
Just on our website, glassboard.com is there. You'll find us on LinkedIn, the regular socials. But yeah, overall, again, we serve a broad number of markets. We consider ourselves generalists, right? So we do stuff in medical and industrial IoT and in transportation and consumer electronics. So really, at the end of the day, we just like to work on, compelling and hard problems and, help people take physical products to market.
That's great. In a similar vein, Goliath Solutions is a new capability that Goliath is offering. So if people need help, taking something like the Glassboard Shunt, extending it help getting your pipelines really precise, exporting out to third-party providers, working with your internal data teams, making it so that your databases are fed with awesome DC current data coming from something like the Shunt, and then obviously managing your fleet and your other capabilities into the future. That's what Goliath Solutions is really strong at. Please go to goliath.io/solutions to learn more about that. Thanks for watching.
Great. Thanks, Chris.